The catalog called it low maintenance. 3 years later, I was on my knees with a spading fork, trying to remove a root the thickness of my thumb that went 2 feet straight down into the soil. One of these was on the cover of every gardening magazine for an entire decade. By year 5, it had split open in the middle and looked like a dead wreath.
One was sold as a pollinator paradise. It was. It was also in my neighbor's garden by year 4, without either of us planting it there. 12 plants. 12 times the catalog told me what I wanted to hear. 12 times the garden told me the truth. Stay with me. And if this saves you even one bad decision, hit subscribe before we get to number 12.
Number 12 is the one that looks like a waterfall of flowers in April and a weed problem by June. Creeping phlox. Phlox subulata. Sold as a rock garden showpiece. In April, it is genuinely one of the most spectacular ground covers you will ever see. A dense carpet of pink, purple, or white flowers cascading over every hard edge. The catalog photo is completely honest about that. What the catalog does not photograph is the same plant in July. Creeping phlox goes fully dormant after bloom. The flowering carpet turns into a dry brown mat of needle-like foliage that looks dead for 5 months of the year.
And it spreads steadily every year into the lawn, between stepping stones, over edging, not aggressively, but persistently. By year 4, the original 1-gallon plant is a 4-foot problem. The fix, Phlox stolonifera, creeping woodland phlox, blooms the same season, stays green all summer, spreads slowly and politely. The catalog almost never stocks it because it does not photograph as dramatically in a nursery pot.
Number 11 is the coreopsis the catalog convinced me was an upgrade. It was not an upgrade. It was a 2-year rental. Fancy coreopsis hybrids, sizzle and spice series, curry up, creme brulee, lime rock ruby. Every color a coreopsis was never naturally supposed to be. $8 to $12 a pot. Year 1, genuinely beautiful, dense, colorful, impressive. Year 2, half the plants are struggling. Year 3, most of them are gone. The breeding that created those unusual colors also removed the cold hardiness and disease resistance the species naturally had. You are paying a premium for a plant that has been weakened to look different. The fix is the one the catalog puts in the bargain bin. Coreopsis verticillata moonbeam, named Plant of the Year in 1992. Still the best-selling coreopsis in America 30 years later. Pale lemon yellow, 5 months of bloom. Drought-proof, comes back reliably for 20 years. Plain, dependable, exactly what a perennial should be.
Number 10 is the cheerful yellow garden plant with an invasive cousin it never quite left behind. Garden loosestrife, Lysomachia punctata. Bright yellow cup-shaped flowers on upright stems, 2 feet tall, blooms June through August. The catalog calls it cheerful, reliable, and easy, all accurate. What it does not say is that loosestrife spreads by underground rhizomes that travel steadily in every direction. By year 3, it is pushing through every neighboring plant in the bed. By year 5, it is in the lawn and coming up between your patio pavers.
A viewer in Michigan described planting a single pot in 2018. By 2023, she had loosestrife in 4 separate beds she never planted it in. The fix: Lysomachia punctata Alexander, the variegated form with white-edged leaves. It has the same yellow flowers, but spreads at a fraction of the rate. Contained edging around the bed keeps it honest. Still not perfectly behaved, but manageable.
Number 9 opens its flowers at dusk and drops its seeds absolutely everywhere. Evening primrose, Oenothera biennis, bright lemon yellow flowers that open in the evening. Native to North America, beloved by pollinators. The catalog sells it as a cottage garden charmer. It is also one of the most aggressive self-seeders in the American perennial garden. A single plant produces thousands of seeds per season. By year 2, you do not have one evening primrose. You have evening primrose in every bed, in the gravel path, in the lawn, growing out of the crack between your house foundation and the driveway. The seeds are viable in soil for up to 70 years. You can remove every plant you see. The seed bank in your soil is already there. The fix? Eonothera macrocarpa, Missouri evening primrose. Low-growing, large yellow flowers, same evening display, same pollinator value, and it does not self-seed aggressively.
Completely different behavior from the same genus. The Latin name is the only thing that separates them at the nursery.
Number 8 smells like camphor, looks cheerful in July, and will be the only plant left in your border by year 4. Tansy, Tanacetum vulgare. Tall, ferny, aromatic foliage, flat clusters of bright yellow button flowers in July. Sold in herb sections as a companion plant and natural insect repellent. The catalog describes it as vigorous and naturalizing. Vigorous and naturalizing. You have heard those words before on this channel. You know what they mean now.
Tansy spreads by both rhizomes and prolific self-seeding simultaneously. That combination is what makes it nearly impossible to control once established. Year 2, it is twice the size. Year 3, it has pushed out every neighboring plant. Year 4, the border is tansy. It is listed as a noxious weed in several western states. The insect repellent reputation is real. Unfortunately, it repels beneficial insects along with pest ones. The fix? Rudbeckia fulgida goldsturm. Same bright yellow in July. 30-year performer. Behaves itself. No camphor smell, no takeover. The catalog stocks both. Only one of them belongs in your garden.
Quick one before number 7. Every plant on this list so far shares one thing. The catalog told the truth about year 1. The beautiful first-year photo? That was real. The fragrance claim? Accurate. The bloom time? Correct. What the catalog never photographs is year 4. No catalog in the history of American gardening has ever put a photo of an overgrown, spreading, weedy, collapsed perennial on its cover and written, "This is what you are actually buying."
The trial gardens do photograph year 4. That is their entire job. Mount Cuba Center, Chicago Botanic Garden, Minnesota Extension. They grow these plants for years and publish what they find for free. I spent 20 years buying from catalogs before I found those reports. 20 years of replacing plants that failed, digging out plants that spread, apologizing to neighbors whose yards my plants had entered uninvited. Read the trial garden reports first, then open the catalog, if you still want to.
Number 7 cost me $90 and gave me white yarrow, fancy yarrow hybrids, strawberry seduction, paprika, Walther funky, every coral, red, and burgundy color the breeders could create. Beautiful in the catalog, beautiful in year 1. By year 3, the entire planting had reverted toward plain white. The dominant color in the species reasserted itself, exactly as the breeding history predicted it would. Multiple university trials have flagged this reversion problem for years. The catalog never mentions it. You pay a premium for a color show that lasts 2 seasons in a plant sold as permanent. The fix? Coronation Gold, a heritage yarrow bred in the 1950s. Does not revert. Bright golden yellow from June through September. Every year, reliably, for 15 years or more. $6. Pay for the track record, not the magazine cover.
Number 6 has the prettiest flowers of anything on this list, and roots that make comfrey look easy to remove. Creeping bellflower. Campanula rapunculoides. Tall, nodding, violet-purple bellflowers on 2-foot stems. Blooms June through August. Looks beautiful against a fence or stone wall. The catalog sells it as a cottage garden classic. Here is what the cottage garden classic does not tell you. It spreads by both rhizomes and self-seeding simultaneously. The rhizomes are thick, fleshy, white, and go deep. Every fragment regenerates. Every attempt to dig it out spreads more fragments. It is listed as invasive across the northern United States and Canada. Once established in a mixed border, it cannot be removed without clearing the entire bed. Complete excavation, cardboard, 2 years of mulch. And even then, fragments come back. A viewer in Minnesota described it as the gift that keeps taking. She has been fighting it for 9 years, from a single plant she bought at a church plant sale in 2015.
Number 5 is the most photographed autumn perennial on Pinterest, and the one I spent 4 years trying to remove. Chinese lanterns. Physalis alkakengi, papery orange lanterns glowing like little pumpkins in September. Every autumn decorating catalog in America photographs them. They are genuinely one of the most beautiful things a perennial garden produces in fall. They are also an aggressive spreader by underground rhizome that no catalog photograph has ever acknowledged.
Year 1, contained and beautiful. Year 2, it has crossed the bed boundary. Year 3, it is in the lawn and in the neighboring rose bed. Year 4, it is coming up between the deck boards. The rhizomes run fast and shallow. They break on every removal attempt and every fragment regrows. I removed Chinese lanterns from my garden for 4 consecutive seasons before I accepted that the only complete solution was removing everything in the bed and starting over. Grow it in a container with no drainage holes touching soil. That is the only safe way to own this plant.